Ever wonder why the nicest person in your office gets overlooked for promotions? Why your most generous friend gets taken advantage of constantly? Why people seem to walk all over those who bend over backwards to help everyone? There's a dark psychological truth lurking beneath the surface of human behavior that most people refuse to acknowledge. Being too nice doesn't just fail to earn respect, it actively destroys it. Research from Stanford's Behavioral Science Lab reveals something shocking. People who display excessive niceness are perceived as 67% less competent and 54% less influential than those who maintain healthy boundaries. But here's what's really disturbing. This isn't conscious. People don't wake up thinking, I'm going to disrespect nice people today. It happens automatically, buried deep in our psychological wiring. Think about the last time someone was overly accommodating with you. Did you respect them more? Or did a tiny voice in your head whisper that maybe they didn't respect themselves enough to stand up for their own interests? If you're honest, it was probably the latter. And that's the trap that destroys so many good people. Your brain is constantly making split-second judgments about everyone you meet. Psychologists call this thin-slice judgments, and one of the key factors your mind evaluates is social dominance. When someone consistently puts everyone else's needs above their own, your unconscious mind files them under low status faster than you can blink. It's not fair, it's not kind, but it's hardwired into human psychology. Consider Sarah, a marketing director I once knew. She was brilliant, hardworking, and would literally give you the shirt off her back. She stayed late to help struggling colleagues, never said no to extra projects, and apologized before making any request. After 3 years of stellar performance, she watched 5 different people get promoted over her. When she finally asked her boss why, he said something that haunts me to this day. "You're great, Sarah, but you don't seem leadership material. You're more of a supporter." What he really meant was that her excessive niceness had trained everyone, including him, to see her as someone who follows rather than leads. Her kindness had become her cage.
The psychology behind this runs deeper than most people realize. When you're constantly self-sacrificing, you're sending a signal that your time, energy, and needs are less valuable than everyone else's. You might think you're being noble, but others interpret it as weakness. MIT conducted a study where participants observed workplace interactions and rated leadership potential. The results were brutal. People who frequently apologized, overhelped, and avoided conflict were rated 71% lower in leadership capability, even when their actual work quality was superior. But here's where it gets really twisted. The more you give, the more people expect. It's called the reciprocity imbalance. When someone is consistently generous without boundaries, others stop feeling grateful and start feeling entitled. Your exceptional becomes their normal. Your sacrifice becomes their expectation. And when you finally can't deliver that same level of giving, they don't see it as you taking care of yourself, they see it as you letting them down. I watched this play out with Mark, a software engineer who prided himself on being the go-to person for everyone's problems. Weekends, late nights, vacation days, nothing was sacred when a colleague needed help. For 2 years, he was the unofficial hero of the team. Then he got married and tried to establish some boundaries. Suddenly, the same people he'd helped countless times started calling him difficult and not a team player. His reputation crumbled not because he became mean, but because he stopped being a doormat. The cruel irony is that truly respected people aren't necessarily the nicest ones. They're the ones who are selectively generous. When they help, it feels special because it's not guaranteed. When they say yes, it carries weight because they also know how to say no. Their kindness has scarcity, and scarcity creates value. UCLA researchers discovered something fascinating about social hierarchies. Groups naturally organize around individuals who demonstrate what they call benevolent authority, people who are warm and helpful, but also confident and boundaried. These individuals were consistently rated as more trustworthy, more competent, and more deserving of leadership roles than their overly nice counterparts. The difference comes down to respect currency. Every interaction you have either deposits or withdraws from your respect account with others. When you apologize unnecessarily, you're making a withdrawal. When you help without being asked, you're making a withdrawal. When you accept poor treatment silently, you're making a massive withdrawal. These small actions compound over time until your respect balance hits zero.
Now, let's talk about the apology addiction that's plaguing so many good people. Sorry I'm late, sorry to interrupt, sorry for asking, sorry for existing. Sound familiar? Each unnecessary apology is like a tiny advertisement that your needs don't matter. Northwestern University found that people who over-apologize are interrupted 340% more often in conversations and have their suggestions implemented 60% less frequently than those who apologize only when truly warranted. Then there's the help trap. You see someone struggling and immediately jump in to save the day. It feels generous, but psychology reveals it's often perceived as condescending. When you help without being asked, you're implicitly saying, "I don't think you can handle this." That's not kindness. That's subtle dominance disguised as care. The person may thank you, but unconsciously, they've categorized you as someone who sees them as incompetent. Perhaps the most devastating nice behavior is conflict avoidance. You let people interrupt you, dismiss your ideas, or treat you poorly because confrontation feels uncomfortable. But every time you swallow disrespect, you're training others that you're not worth respecting. Columbia's psychology department tracked workplace dynamics and found that individuals who avoided addressing disrespectful behavior saw that behavior increase by 280% over 6 months. Silence doesn't keep the peace. It advertises your willingness to be mistreated. The availability trap is equally destructive. When you're always reachable, always ready to drop everything, always accommodating everyone else's schedule, you become background noise in their lives. Harvard Business School research shows that people who maintain boundaries around their time are perceived as 89% more valuable than those who are constantly available. Scarcity creates respect. Abundance creates complacency. Finally, there's the achievement deflection habit. Someone compliments your work and you immediately minimize it. It was nothing special. I just got lucky. Anyone could have done that. You think you're being modest, but you're actually teaching others not to take your accomplishments seriously. If you won't advocate for your own value, why should anyone else? The solution isn't to become cold or cruel. The world needs kind people, but it needs kind people with backbones. True respect comes from what psychologists call warm authority, the ability to be genuinely caring while still maintaining your own worth and boundaries.
Instead of apologizing for normal requests, simply make them politely and directly. Replace "sorry to bother you, but could you maybe" with "I'd like to discuss this with you when you have time." Same message, completely different energy. Instead of jumping in to help uninvited, ask permission first. "I notice you're working on that project. Would it be helpful if I pitched in, or do you have it handled?" This shows consideration without condescension. When someone disrespects you, address it calmly but firmly in the moment. "I'd like to finish my thought before we move on," or "that comment doesn't sit right with me." Simple statements that protect your dignity without creating drama. Set clear boundaries around your availability. "I check emails during business hours and respond within 24 hours. Isn't harsh, it's professional. Your time has value, and treating it with respect teaches others to do the same. When someone acknowledges your achievements, accept the recognition gracefully. "Thank you, I'm proud of how that turned out." Or, "I appreciate you noticing, I put a lot of effort into that." Owning your success isn't arrogance, it's honesty. The shift requires rewiring your entire approach to relationships. Instead of seeking approval through self-sacrifice, you earn respect through self-respect. Instead of being helpful to everyone about everything, you become strategically generous. Instead of avoiding all conflict, you address issues when they matter. This transition feels uncomfortable because you've likely built your identity around being the accommodating one. People in your life may resist these changes because they've grown accustomed to your boundaryless generosity. Some may even call you selfish when you start valuing yourself appropriately. That resistance is actually proof that the changes are working. Remember, respect isn't something you can beg for or earn through endless giving. Respect is something you model through how you treat yourself. When you demonstrate that your time, energy, and dignity have value, others naturally begin treating them as valuable too.
The goal isn't to stop being kind. Kindness is a strength. The goal is to be kind from a position of strength rather than desperation. Kind because you choose to be, not because you're afraid of what happens if you're not. Generous because it feels good, not because you need others' approval to feel worthy. This is why being too nice makes people disrespect you, not because kindness is bad, but because kindness without boundaries is self-destruction. When you respect yourself, you give others permission to respect you too. When you value yourself, you teach others your worth. When you set boundaries, you create the space for genuine appreciation rather than entitled expectation. The most respected people in your life aren't the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones whose yes means something because they also know how to say no. Their help feels special because it's chosen, not compulsive. Their kindness carries weight because it comes from strength, not weakness. So stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop sacrificing yourself on the altar of others' comfort. Stop accepting poor treatment in the name of keeping peace. Your kindness is a gift, not an obligation. Your time is valuable, not expendable. Your boundaries are necessary, not selfish. The world doesn't need weaker, nice people. It needs stronger, kind people. People who can be generous without being doormats, helpful without being pushovers, and caring without being self-destructive. That's the kind of person who commands respect while still making the world a better place. Which of these patterns do you recognize in yourself? The apology addiction, the help trap, the conflict avoidance? The first step to change is awareness. The second step is action. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how differently people begin treating you when you start treating yourself with the respect you deserve.